Today marks the International Day of Education. This year, the celebration would shed light on why learning for peace matters and highlights the crucial role of education and teachers in combating hate speech. Hate speech fuels prejudice and discrimination and can enable and normalize violence. It is a threat to the principles of inclusion, diversity, and human rights. Our guest this morning is the convener for the Societal Impact Scheme, Adeyemo Blessing Adekumbi. Good morning, and thanks for joining us,
Good
Blessing.
morning. Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for your time. Now, tell us what the International Day for Education means for the African child. Of course, put in perspective the realities of the African child with regard to education. Here in Nigeria, of course, where we have the highest number of out-of-school children, and of course, all the challenges, the continent might be facing.
Okay, so basically, education we know is an important, aspect of any growing child, an African child, and it has served as a platform to help to build people, whether in the formal sector or rather in the informal sector, based on the four walls of the school. So this plays a very important role in building an average African child. For us that have grown through the process, the university level, it changes our mindset. The way you think, critical thinking, and communication skills. So it helps build the African child to know better with the right knowledge, the right skills, the right attitude to become better people, and of course, be useful in the society.
All right, talk to us about the importance of the theme for this year. I believe it's learning for peace. Why is it imperative that there's a theme and that theme sort of is a driving force of the message for this year?
Okay, learning for lasting peace. We all know in this recent time, the use of social media has increased the rate, of hate speech, the number of people giving their self-opinion about other people's matters. So it is very important when we say we want to learn, lasting peace through education, because education seems to be the central line that encourages everybody to want to do better. You want to learn. So if the education can come in a place where hate speech can be reduced, so people get to understand what they're saying is wrong. So when you say hate speech, you're trying to demean another person's perspective, maybe based on their religion, their race. So especially, for example, I'm going to give an example of one of the social media platforms. It seems to be like the most, platform that gives that room for people to just express themselves. As much as there is, freedom of speech, there needs to be like a limit to what is being said. You need to care about the opinion of the other people, respect their perspective about what they stand for. So education in this case now helps us to bridge that gap. People learn, whether the young or the old, whether in the four walls of the school. So it's the responsibility of teachers and education as a whole to help puts people in the right perspective. Okay, you can make your expressions known without having to be violent, without having to hate on the other person or express that form of demeaning words or actions towards the other person, whether a race or a group. So that's why this particular International Day of Education is very important for us to learn how to make lasting peace, even as a body or a nation and all of that.
Yeah, and what do you see, as likely challenges to passing this message across? Because, as you might, add certain things to the syllabus, you may also encourage teachers and schools and the society, to change their approach, towards education, to ensure that this message is passed. But, again, the realities of the African society and the Nigerian society will not be taken away. Children will continue to experience and see, what the realities are, with poverty and, religious hatred and all of that. So what would you, say would be the biggest challenges with passing this message across on the International Day for Education?
Well, what I can say can be one of the biggest challenges is, I mentioned earlier that the change or the perspective of speaking right is not just with the children or the teenagers or those in school. It is also our own responsibility as adults to make that different. So if we as the adults, the teachers, those that are supposed to treat these people right, are not even well trained, or we're not well, informed as to what to do. So I think the knowledge barrier of the growing ones that are supposed to bring these people up, one, is one of the issues. Another issue can be, of course, we know out of school children, education, the educational system is the first place where children can learn all they need to know, the knowledge, the skills. And so if you're going to be having, according to statistics, there are like about 230 million people children out of school, and about 730 million adults that are illiterate. So I think the first place is, and that's where our community, the Society Impact Scheme comes in, to help empower these people, support for school fees. So we need to create more platforms where we can give these people an opportunity to learn, unlearn, even outside of the school walls, unlearn the habits that they have, and build up new habits. So it's a responsibility, everybody's responsibility. So if we cannot take up the responsibility, whether as a parent or as a teacher or as an adult, an uncle, then it's going to really be a big challenge.
I mean, you've called very scary numbers. With 250 million people out of school, and Nigeria contributing about 20 million to that figure. And the number of adults who are illiterate as well. These are scary numbers. What are some of the short-term and long-term measures we need to put in place to be able to ensure that we prioritize education as much as we would? Unfortunately, I don't know if you'd agree, I'm sure you would agree with me that we're starting to see that younger people are placing more premium on other things than education. You would see that they would rather give millions for maybe reality shows or other things, which is not to downplay the place of entertainment. But education doesn't seem to get as much popularity as other, more popular, vocations or more popular industries. So what are the short-term and long-term measures we can put in place to ensure that it has the priority that it should? For maybe reality shows or other things, which is not to downplay the place of entertainment, but education doesn't seem to get as much popularity as other.
Please go ahead.
Okay, I can go ahead. Okay, so some of the short-term goals that we can, put in place. Short-term and long-term. In the aspect of, we all know the budget, it is imperative and very important that would cater more for that, from that angle, that's from the government. And for the short-term goals, when it comes to education, I think, like I mentioned earlier, and based on what my platform currently does, the ability to be able to prioritize this. So what came about, even what we do currently, is, when we look at the community, we see many out of school children. We have brilliant minds that don't get even the support that they need because of lack of funds. So if you can get more people to, venture into this, you want to have, like personally for me, what brought about this was I celebrate my birthday in January. So I was looking for a platform where I could make impact. I'm a very impact-driven person. So you and I can, first of all, short-term goals, the people around you, the children around you, that are not in school yet, or you see out of school children around, we need to take up that responsibility. Don't say, oh, it's not my child. If you have the opportunity, please do. So those are little, ways that we can actually make a difference. Then on the long term, I think that's where the place of the government comes in, where they prepare, there are times that you even go to schools that they don't have like policies and, that guides this, they are not aware. I know there are, but there are so many schools that are not aware of this. So the ability for each of individual schools to be able to understand the policies that guide learning, education will help, we put them in the right perspective of making a difference. And of course, the government, the budget needs to, be increased to help support this particular, platform or this the educational system as well, because it makes the difference in all of it. There's a way an educated person will speak compared to where an uneducated person will speak. You will see the communication skills. So education is not just by the way. It's one of the most important things. As much as you can be anything, you can go to school and still be an artist. You can go to school and, venture into anything. But the key factor there of education makes the difference in the way your manner of approach to things, the way you will act, the way you will reason, the way you will think. So I think in the long run, we need to prioritize education as a nation so that we can get the best out of the people, because the mindset of the people will determine the output or the outcome of what they will deliver even to the society.
Okay. My final question for you would be being able to also, accept that not all education has to be formal. We don't have a society that understands that, and so, do you think we maybe need to also expand on the possibilities of also, informal education, figuring out ways where we can also enlighten the minds of the kids and also the adults, not necessarily through the formal education pathway?
Yes, I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. Informal education, we have the skill acquisition aspect of it, which also brightens your mind. You have hands-on training when it comes to informal education. And for adult education, we have people that are going back to school. So I really recommend that because it changes, the way we think, like I mentioned earlier, and it helps our behavior towards others. We express ourselves in a better way, so that when I'm expressing myself to you, I know this is what this defines, and I'm not trying to demean or being violent or anything. So informal education is very necessary also to help build a growing child, because now if you look at the economy we're in, the kind of skills that you have now coming to hands-on skill, entrepreneurial skills, makes the difference. So even if you go to school, for example, I'm also a business owner. So aside from the fact that I went to school, I run a business on the side. So this it gives that perspective. I could have said, okay, I just want to stay in the career space. So informal education also gives us more. It gives us, of course, when you venture into a particular business or all of that, it also helps the economy. So I think we also need to look into that entrepreneurial skills, informal rather, means of educating others to actually build themselves up. So yes, I highly recommend us expanding the informal education aspect.
All right, I think my final question to you, Blessing, would be, what is the role of civil societies, non-governmental organizations? I mean, you have your movement as well. What is the role, and how can the society support non-governmental organizations to be able to create lasting impact in the education sector?
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so for the non-governmental organization, movements that, for example, Societal Impact Scheme, how you can support us is, first of all, of course, funding is one major key, aspect of carrying any of such ventures or such things out. So if you want to, I would encourage that people come out, let your life be more of a life of impact. As much as you can support the NGOs, communities around that are making a difference, please let us ensure and endeavor to be part of the difference that is being made. And also, you could also support as a volunteer. So you have a particular skill you want to showcase, or you have, or you want to build on, rather, you could actually join organizations that, focus on that, because we have lots of non-governmental organizations that are not just even educational, focused. There is health, there is physically challenged and all of that. So the ability for us to focus and help support the way we can, even if you can't fund, you can promote such organizations. You can help to, allow others who have the capacity to help to actually make the difference in what they are doing in their society.
Thank you so much, Blessing, for joining us today. We want to say thank you to you and other non-governmental organizations and individuals who are spearheading critical conversations in pushing forward the education sector.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us.